Early this morning, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a law that restricts those with a domestic violence history from owning a gun.
Now, ABC4's Annika Johns joins us live from the Utah State Capitol with more on this decision and what that means here in Utah. Annika.
So what happened was, in an 8-1 decision, the Supreme Court upheld a federal law that disallows someone that has a domestic violence history from owning a gun.
The Supreme Court has ruled once more on a law centered around guns in the United States. Exactly a week after they lifted the ban on bump stocks, the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of a law restricting certain individuals with domestic violence history from owning a gun.
So the U.S. Supreme Court continued the rule that people convicted of domestic violence convictions cannot possess firearms. So, yes, despite the fact that we have the Second Amendment, you have a right to possess firearms, those rights can be limited, and in this case, if you have a domestic violence conviction.
This decision rules in favor of President Biden's Justice Department, who appealed to the Supreme Court in defense of the statute after a lower court in Texas deemed it unconstitutional, throwing out a man's domestic violence conviction.
So the court is saying that, yes, you have a Second Amendment right to possess a firearm that's gone back hundreds of years, but that can be limited in certain circumstances if you have a domestic violence conviction.
In a statement released to ABC4 News, the Gun Violence Prevention Center of Utah says today's ruling calls for celebration. This decision preserves federal protections for domestic violence victims, sending a strong message that victims and survivors deserve to live without fear or harm of gun violence.
So people who are victims maybe feel, oh, good, that person's not going to have access. So they can't buy or possess a firearm. That rule will continue.
Now, for a more in-depth look at what went down in court today up in Washington, D.C., you can visit our website at abc4.com. Reporting live from the Utah State Capitol, Annika Johns, ABC4 News.